Did you know what they think when they reject or ignore you completely? Let me tell you, folks, they expect you to crumble, because this is how it always goes, doesn't it? The predictable, almost scripted response to someone's rejection. You break, you chase, you fall into the trap of proving your worth to someone who never deserved it in the first place. They expect you to beg, to chase after them like a lost traveler in a storm, desperate to find shelter. Isn't it exactly like that? And don't sit there and pretend you don't already know this, because deep down, you've felt it. The silent smirk behind their rejection, the way they casually dismissed your worth, as if you were nothing more than a page in their story they could rip out and toss away. And yes, we've talked about this a million times, haven't we? The aftermath, the wreckage. They think they know your next moves like they've written the script for your life. They expect you to cry out loud, to sit in that suffocating dark room with the lights off, your world collapsing around you. They picture you tossing and turning in sleepless agony, staring at a ceiling that offers no answers, refusing to eat, refusing even to breathe deeply. They imagine your silence as surrender, not strength. And maybe you've already been there. Maybe you've done it all, played out the role they cast you in. But what they really expect after all of that? Oh, they expect the fire to come. Anger, blinding, reckless rage. The kind that makes you lash out, make mistakes, and prove them right about you all along. But here's the thing. You are not willing to see. They didn't expect anything good from you. No healing, no growth, no triumph. Just pain and destruction. And every second you live your life according to their expectations, you hand them the pen and let them scribble all over the pages of your story. You let them pull the strings, turning you into their puppet, dancing to the rhythm of rejection they set for you. Oh, who told you that loving someone meant breaking yourself to pieces just to fit into their world? Who sold you the lie that sacrificing your dignity, your peace, and your dreams was the price you had to pay to keep them around? Was it a story whispered to you in childhood? A tale spun by movies, songs, or maybe even your own heart, convincing you that the deeper the pain, the purer the love? Let me ask you this. If love is meant to lift you, why are you the one crawling? Why is it that in their presence your wings shrink, your voice grows quieter, and your light dims? Who taught you to build a pedestal so high that they could look down on you while you crushed yourself under its weight? Love is not supposed to feel like chains tightening around your soul. It's not kneeling on shattered glass, hoping they'll notice your bleeding hands and offer a bandage. It's not locking yourself in a prison you built and handing them the key. And yet, here you are, convincing yourself that this is how it's supposed to be, that love requires suffering, silence, and surrender. But here's the truth you need to hear, as raw and unfiltered as it gets. You didn't fall in love, you fell into a trap. A trap where you allowed their needs, their opinions, their validation to define you. You allowed their rejection, their silence, and their coldness to dictate your worth. And now you sit there, hands trembling, waiting for them to decide if you're enough. Enough for what? For someone who couldn't see your light when it shone the brightest? For someone who was so blind to your value that they mistook your loyalty for desperation? No, stop right there. Let me tell you this. If someone cannot respect the love you give, it's not your love that's lacking. It's their capacity to receive it. It's time to wake up, to cut those strings, to remind yourself that this life isn't a script written by someone who didn't see your worth. It's yours. And my friend, when you take back control, when you rewrite the narrative they thought they'd locked in stone, you'll be more than a plot twist. You'll be the ending they never saw coming. So, how are you gonna end? Crying, begging, sitting in this damn dark room? No. You are going to rewrite the script of your life. They think they know you. They think you'll be destroyed after them. Ha! That's their ego talking. But let me ask you something. Do you know what's more powerful than their ego? Your silence. And nah, I'm not talking about the silence that society tells you to have. The weak, submissive kind. The silence that makes you fade away. No. The silence I'm talking about is deafening. It's a silence that shines so brightly it blinds them. I'm not talking about the old version of silence, the manipulative one, the one everyone else talks about. The silence that's a ticking bomb of resentment, a poison you sip every day, hoping they'll notice your pain. No, no, no. That silence will eat you alive. We're going to talk about the silent transformation. A silence so powerful, it reshapes you from the inside out. A silence that doesn't just whisper your power, it shouts it through every move you make, every step you take. This is the silence that makes you the ruler of your kingdom, the king of your own destiny, the queen of your own empire. The kind of silence that commands attention, demands respect, and creates change. The silence that doesn't just close the chapter they didn't deserve in your story. It writes a whole new book, one where you stand tall, crowned, and untouchable. That's the silence I'm talking about. Are you ready to claim it? Then affirm with me right now. I am the ruler of my world. My silence is my crown, and my strength will rewrite the story they thought they controlled. Now, drop this little line in the comments. My silence is my crown. Let me know you're following along, because trust me, I'm not here to talk to the winds. I'm here to talk to you. Let me know you're with me. And, hey, is this video hitting home for you? Is it helping you see things you've never seen before? Then do one thing. Hit that like button right below this video, and while you're at it, make sure you subscribe. Because if you think this hit hard, you're not ready for what's coming next. So, are you ready to dive deeper? Because let me tell you, this was just the trailer. The real story starts now. Let's go. Now, folks, let's strip away the fluff and get brutally real. Epictetus, a legend of Stoicism, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Let that sink in. You're out here losing your mind over someone who wouldn't even lose a second of sleep over you. Someone who walked all over you, treated you like trash they could toss aside. And yet, here you are, holding on to the hope that they will suddenly wake up and see your worth. But here's the harsh truth. They won't. And even if they did, what does it say about you that you're waiting for scraps of recognition from someone who couldn't value you when you gave them everything? Marcus Aurelius nailed it when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Let me tell you what he wasn't saying. He wasn't telling you to waste your power trying to control what someone else thinks or feels about you. He wasn't suggesting that you spend one more ounce of your energy chasing someone who's already made it clear they don't care. And let's call it what it is. You're still hoping for them to see your worth, because deep down, you haven't realized it yourself. That's the real wound here. You're out here begging for a blind person to appreciate a masterpiece. So who's the fool now? Other people will tell you to play the silent game, to sit there, quietly fuming, hoping your absence will make them miss you, regret losing you, come crawling back. That's a scam. That's manipulation dressed up as empowerment. And let me tell you, it doesn't work because you can't control them. Here's the only thing you need to know. The kind of silence we're talking about today isn't for them. It's for you. It's the silence that doesn't scream for attention or validation. It's the silence that roars with self-respect, that echoes with power, that transforms you into the ruler of your own damn kingdom. This silence isn't about waiting for them to realize what they lost. No. This silence is about you realizing what you've always had. So stop handing over your power to someone who doesn't deserve it. Stop letting their ignorance of your worth define you. This is your life, your story, and your crown to wear. Not for them. Never again for them. Now let's dive into this silence, the kind that's going to rebuild you, not for revenge, but for resurrection. Not for their regret, but for your reign. Let's go. Number 1. The broken throne you built for them. Let's get brutally honest. You didn't just give them power, you built it for them. Brick by brick, piece by piece, you constructed a throne with your own hands. Each compromise, each sacrifice, each moment you silenced your needs to amplify theirs. It all became part of the structure, and now they're sitting there comfortably, oblivious to the wreckage it's caused in your life. Ask yourself, why? Why did you think they deserved to sit on that throne in the first place? You told yourself it was love, didn't you? That's what we're taught after all. Movies, books, songs, they paint this picture that love is about giving everything, even if it breaks you. But here's the truth no one tells you. Love isn't slavery. Love isn't putting someone else so high above you that you lose sight of yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." What quality of thoughts were you living with when you decided their happiness was worth more than your own? Because let's be real, this isn't about them anymore. It's about why you believed they deserved your crown. That throne you built. It's not indestructible. In fact, it's cracked, broken, and ready to collapse. Why? Because it was built on a foundation of your insecurity. Every time you begged for their attention, you weakened its base. Every time you tolerated their disrespect, another crack formed. And yet, you kept building, convincing yourself that if you just worked harder, loved deeper, or gave more, they'd finally see your worth. But let me ask you this. Do you think a throne built on brokenness can ever hold someone up? No. All it does is collapse under its own weight, taking you down with it. Here's the hardest truth you'll hear today. They never asked for the throne. You gave it to them. You gave them the keys to your kingdom, and then acted surprised when they didn't treat it with care. You were so busy trying to make them see your worth that you didn't realize you were becoming blind to it yourself. Epictetus said it best. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. They didn't see your value because they were never looking for it. But the real tragedy, you thought their recognition would define your worth. Maybe you're asking yourself now, why did I do it? Why did I sacrifice so much for someone who treated me like nothing? Here's the answer. You were scared. Scared of losing them. Scared of being alone. Scared that if you didn't give everything, you'd end up with nothing. But that fear was a lie. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You never had control over how they treated you, but you always had control over how you treated yourself. It's time to dismantle that throne. Piece by piece, brick by brick, take back what's yours. Your time, your energy, your worth. They don't belong to someone who couldn't see your light. They belong to you. Because here's the truth you've been avoiding. The throne was never theirs to begin with. It was always yours. You just forgot how to sit on it. So, what now? Are you going to keep breaking yourself to hold up a throne for someone who doesn't deserve it? Or are you going to reclaim what's been yours all along? Take back the throne. Rebuild it. Not for them, but for you. Because you are the ruler of your life. Your silence is your crown. Your strength is your foundation. And your worth is untouchable. Write it in the comments right now. I reclaim my throne. And remember, this is just the beginning. The silent revolution is coming next, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's in store. Let's rebuild your kingdom together. Stay tuned. Number 2. The silent revolution. Silence. It's not what you've been taught to embrace, is it? You've been told silence is weakness, that it's surrender, that it means you've given up. They want you to believe that the only way to prove your worth is to fight, to argue, to beg for attention, to scream until they finally hear you. But let me tell you something. Real power doesn't need to shout. Real power doesn't need to convince. Real power lies in silence. A silence so profound, so unyielding, it shakes the ground they stand on. But let's get something straight right now. I'm not talking about the old silence, the one where you stew in bitterness, waiting for them to miss you. That silence? It's a trap. It's poison that eats away at your soul while they move on, oblivious. I'm talking about a different kind of silence, a silence that isn't empty. It's full of growth, full of transformation, full of a power so raw, so undeniable, it speaks louder than any words ever could. When they rejected you, they expected you to crumble. They expected you to lash out, to spiral, to lose yourself in the chaos of proving your worth. That's the game they thought you'd play. But here's where you flip the script. You don't play. You don't argue. You don't explain. You don't give them the satisfaction of knowing they've rattled you. Instead, you go silent, not out of weakness, but out of strategy. Silence isn't passive. It's active. It's the act of reclaiming your energy and redirecting it inward. It's the refusal to engage in battles that don't serve your higher purpose. Think about it. Every second you spend trying to prove yourself to someone who doesn't see your worth is a second you could have spent building your kingdom. Why waste your power on someone who doesn't even realize they're standing in the presence of royalty? Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This is what silence allows you to do. It creates space for you to decide who you are without their opinions clouding your judgment. It's in this silence that you start to hear your own voice again, the voice that tells you you're more than enough, that you were always enough, even when they were too blind to see it. But let me ask you something. Why are you still holding on? Why are you still hoping they'll miss you, regret losing you, realize your worth? Let me hit you with some truth. They won't. Not because you're not worth missing, but because they've already shown you who they are. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You can't control their regret. You can't control their realization, but you can control what you do next. And what you do next is rise. Not in a way they expect, not with anger or revenge or the need to prove anything. You rise in silence. You rise by building a life so powerful, so fulfilling, so undeniably radiant that their absence becomes irrelevant. Because the silence we're talking about today isn't for them. It's for you. It's the silence of stepping away from the noise and chaos they brought into your life and stepping into the peace and power of your own kingdom. This is your revolution, the silent revolution. It's not about waiting for them to notice you. It's about making sure you notice you. It's about standing tall, wearing your crown, and knowing that the kingdom you're building isn't for anyone else's approval. It's for your peace, your joy, your growth. This silence isn't a pause, it's the foundation of your reign. So how do you start this revolution? Stop reacting, stop explaining, stop chasing. Every time you feel the urge to reach out, to argue, to prove your worth, remember this: your silence is your power. Every time you stay silent, you're reclaiming a piece of yourself. Every time you stay silent, you're building your kingdom. Every time you stay silent, you're reminding yourself and the world that you don't need anyone's permission to be the ruler of your life. Write this in the comments right now. I rise in silence. Let it be your affirmation, your declaration, your battle cry. Because this isn't the end, it's the beginning of your reign. And what comes next? The crown that was always yours. Stay with me, because the next chapter will show you exactly who really holds the crown. Let's go. Number 3. Who really holds the crown? You've been walking around acting like it's them, acting like they're the one with all the power, all the control, acting like they're the ruler of your life. But let's get one thing straight. The only reason they ever felt like royalty in your story is because you handed them the crown. You handed it over when you made their opinions matter more than your own. You handed it over when you let their rejection define your worth. You handed it over every single time you prioritized their comfort over your growth. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize. The crown was never theirs to begin with. They didn't earn it, they didn't build it, and they sure as hell don't deserve it. The crown has always been yours. You just forgot how to wear it. Let me ask you something. Why are you bowing to someone who doesn't even know how to rule? Someone who couldn't see your value even when it was staring them right in the face. You're out here breaking yourself apart, trying to make them see something they're too blind to notice. But let me hit you with a brutal truth. You don't need their validation to wear your crown. You don't need their regret to prove your worth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's the key. Stop arguing, stop explaining, stop waiting. Just be. Be the ruler of your own kingdom. Be the kind of person who doesn't beg for scraps of attention. Be the kind of person who doesn't need anyone else's permission to shine. You've been treating this person like they're the sun, and your whole world revolves around them. But let me tell you something. You are the sun. You are the light. You are the force that keeps everything moving. Stop dimming yourself for someone who can't handle your brilliance. Stop chasing someone who can't even see what's right in front of them. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." And that's exactly what this is about. You've been giving them control they never had. You've been tying your freedom to their choices, their feelings, their actions. But here's the hard truth. You'll never be free as long as you're waiting for someone else to validate your crown. So, who really holds the crown? It's not them, it's you. It's always been you. But wearing it comes with responsibility. You don't get to blame them for how they treated you anymore. You don't get to sit around, drowning in self-pity, waiting for someone to come and save you. Rulers don't wait to be saved. They rise, they take control, they reclaim what's theirs. Let's talk about what this crown really means. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's not about proving anything to them. The crown represents your power, your self-worth, your ability to stand tall in a world that tried to break you. It's about choosing yourself over and over again, even when it's hard. It's about building a life so powerful, so fulfilling, that you don't need anyone else to complete it. But maybe you're sitting there thinking, how do I take back the crown? How do I stop giving them power? You start by looking in the mirror. You start by remembering who you are, who you've always been, even when they tried to make you forget. You start by deciding right now that their rejection doesn't define you. Their silence doesn't weaken you. Their indifference doesn't determine your worth. The crown is yours when you choose to own your story. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop begging. When you let go of the idea that their regret or their attention will somehow make you whole. So, I'll ask you again, who really holds the crown? Write it in the comments right now. I hold the crown. Let it be your declaration, because what's coming next isn't about holding on to the past. It's about burning the old map and charting a new path. Let's rebuild your kingdom. Let's make it unshakable. Stay with me. The next chapter is where you leave the old version of yourself behind and start walking into your power. Let's go. Number 4. Burn the old map. Chart a new path. You've been following the same map for too long, a map someone else drew for you, a map filled with dead ends, false promises, and paths that always lead back to pain. You thought if you just kept walking, kept following their trail, you'd eventually find what you were looking for: validation, love, acceptance. But here's the truth. This map was never designed to lead you anywhere worth going. It's time to burn it. That map they gave you? It was their version of your life. It was built on their convenience, their comfort, and their inability to see your worth. Every line on that map, every road they laid out, was a trap, a loop designed to keep you stuck in their orbit, chasing their approval while they sat comfortably, watching you exhaust yourself. Let me ask you something. How many times have you walked the same path, only to find yourself right back where you started? How many times have you given them another chance, hoping this time would be different? How many times have you told yourself, if I just try harder, love deeper, give more, they'll see my worth? But they never do they? Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. And what's standing in your way right now is the old map. It's the idea that your worth is tied to their recognition. It's the belief that you need to follow their path to find happiness. But what if you stopped walking their road and started building your own? To do that, you have to let go. Let go of the map. Let go of the idea that their validation is the destination. Let go of the belief that their attention will lead you to peace. Because the truth is, their map was never meant to guide you to happiness. It was meant to keep you lost. Burn the map. Let the flames consume every false hope, every toxic belief, every lie you told yourself to justify their behavior. Watch it turn to ash, and as the smoke rises, remind yourself that you're not lost, you're free. Now you're probably wondering, if I burn the old map, where do I go from here? The answer is simple. You chart a new path. But this time, the path isn't for them, it's for you. This is your journey, your life, your kingdom. Start small. Start by asking yourself, what do I want? Not what they want, not what will make them notice you, not what will make them regret losing you. What do you want? What kind of life do you want to build? What kind of person do you want to become? Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that's what this new path is about, mastering yourself. It's about taking back control of your time, your energy, your dreams. It's about building a life so rich, so fulfilling, that you don't need anyone else to complete it. This new path isn't easy. It's uncharted territory, and there will be moments when you feel like turning back. But let me remind you, there's nothing for you on the old road. That road is a graveyard of broken promises and wasted time. Every step you take on your new path is a step away from the pain and toward the life you deserve. So, here's your moment. Light the match. Burn the old map. Write in the comments right now, I create my own path. Let it be your declaration, your affirmation, your commitment to yourself. Because what's coming next? It's not about revenge or validation. It's about building a life so powerful that it speaks for itself. It's about understanding why the lie of revenge and validation isn't worth your time. Stay with me, because the next chapter will change the way you see everything. Let's keep moving. Number 5. The lie of revenge and validation. Revenge and validation, the twin lies we tell ourselves to make sense of rejection and pain. They whisper promises of satisfaction, of closure, of making them regret ever walking away. You imagine the scene. They see you thriving. They fall apart. They beg for a chance they'll never get. It's a fantasy, isn't it? But let's break it down. Is it real, or is it just another illusion designed to keep you trapped? Revenge tells you, if they hurt you, hurt them back. Validation tells you, if they didn't see your worth, make them see it. Both sound empowering, but here's the truth. They're chains. Chains that keep you tethered to someone who no longer deserves a second of your time or energy. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Think about that. Revenge might feel good for a moment, a fleeting satisfaction as you imagine their regret. But at what cost? Every step you take toward revenge is a step back into their world, their chaos, their control. You're still giving them the power to dictate your actions, your thoughts, your life. And validation? That's just another form of begging. When you chase validation, you're still saying, look at me, see me, acknowledge me. Why? Why should someone who was blind to your worth in the first place hold the key to your self-esteem? They didn't see it then, and even if they do now, what changes? Let me ask you something. Do you really want them back? Or do you just want them to miss you? Do you want them to see your worth? Or are you still trying to convince yourself of it? The harsh truth. It doesn't matter what they think. Their opinion doesn't define you. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That's the real challenge, isn't it? Letting go of the need to prove anything to anyone. Being content to live your life without their validation, without their regret, without their acknowledgement. Revenge and validation are lies because they make you believe your power comes from their reaction. But real power doesn't come from them. It comes from you. It comes from moving forward, building a life so fulfilling that their absence becomes irrelevant. It's not about making them regret losing you. It's about making yourself proud of what you've become. So, what now? You let go. Let go of the fantasies, the what-ifs, the endless loops of trying to make them feel something. Your silence, your growth, your transformation. That's the only statement you need to make. Write it in the comments. I let go of revenge. Let it be your declaration, your freedom. Because what's coming next? It's not about chasing them. It's about affirming yourself, declaring your kingdom, and stepping into the ruler you were always meant to be. Stay with me, because the final affirmation is where the magic happens. Let's move forward. Number 6. The final affirmation. Declaring your kingdom. It's time Time to stop looking back. Time to stop explaining yourself. Time to stop handing over your power to people who were never worthy of it. This is the moment where you step into who you were always meant to be, the ruler of your own kingdom. But let's get one thing straight. This isn't about anyone else. It's not about making them regret. It's not about proving them wrong. It's not even about showing the world your worth. No, this is about you. This is about declaring once and for all that your life belongs to no one else but you. Think about it. You've spent so much time living for others, seeking their validation, fearing their rejection, trying to mold yourself into someone they might finally accept. But what did it ever bring you? Pain, exhaustion, emptiness. And now you're standing at a crossroads. You can either keep walking that path of self-sacrifice and regret, or you can turn around and declare your kingdom. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." That strength, it's already within you. It always has been. You just buried it under the weight of their expectations, their opinions, their dismissal of your worth. It's time to unearth it. Your kingdom is not some distant dream. It's not something you'll find by chasing others or begging for scraps of their attention. Your kingdom is here now. It's in the choices you make every single day. It's in the boundaries you set. It's in the moments you choose yourself, even when it's hard, even when it feels lonely. To declare your kingdom means reclaiming everything they tried to take from you: your time, your energy, your confidence, your joy. It means looking in the mirror and saying, "I am enough." Not because someone else said so, but because you've decided it's true. It means recognizing that you don't need anyone's permission to live a life that feels whole and powerful and free. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." And freedom doesn't come from chasing people who don't see your worth. Freedom comes from letting them go. It comes from realizing that your life isn't a performance for others to applaud or criticize. Your life is your masterpiece, and you are the only one who gets to hold the brush. So, here's the question. What does your kingdom look like? Is it built on their approval, or is it built on your strength? Is it a place where you shrink yourself to fit into their world, or is it a space where you stand tall, unapologetic, and unshakable? This is your final affirmation. Write it in the comments right now. I declare my kingdom. Say it with conviction, because this isn't just a phrase. It's a promise to yourself, a commitment to never again let anyone else dictate your worth. And let me tell you, when you declare your kingdom, everything changes. Your perspective, your priorities, your energy. It all shifts. You stop chasing what isn't meant for you, and you start attracting what aligns with your power. Because here's the truth. You are the ruler. You've always been the ruler. The only thing left to do is claim your crown and step into your reign. This is where your journey truly begins. But we're not done yet. In the final chapter, we're going to talk about legacy, the mark of a true ruler. What you leave behind, what you build, and how you ensure that this transformation becomes your forever. Stay with me. Let's finish this together. Number 7. Closing. The legacy of a true ruler. A true ruler isn't remembered for the crown they wore. They're remembered for the kingdom they built, the lives they transformed, and the legacy they left behind. And that's what this is about. Your legacy. What will you leave behind? What story will people tell about you when your name is spoken? It's not about revenge. It's not about proving anyone wrong. A true ruler doesn't waste time on petty battles or fleeting validation. No, a true ruler rises above. They know that their power isn't in what others think of them. It's in the mark they leave on the world. Think about it. Every struggle you've faced, every rejection, every moment of pain, it wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to shape you, to sharpen you, to prepare you for the moment you'd realize who you truly are. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." That's the truth of a ruler's legacy. Every choice you make, every action you take, leaves an imprint. What kind of imprint will you leave behind? Your legacy starts with the kingdom you build. And let's be clear, your kingdom isn't some far-off dream. It's the life you create every single day. It's the relationships you nurture, the passions you pursue, the boundaries you set. It's in the way you treat yourself and the way you teach others to treat you. Stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth. Stop waiting for the world to give you permission to live the life you deserve. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, and your legacy won't be built in a day. But every step you take, every choice to prioritize yourself, every moment you choose growth over stagnation, that's how your kingdom takes shape." A true ruler doesn't just lead, they inspire. They show others what's possible when you refuse to settle, when you refuse to let rejection or failure define you. That's your power. That's your legacy. But maybe you're sitting there thinking, what if I fail? What if I can't build something as great as I imagine? Let me tell you something. Failure isn't the end. It's part of the journey. Every ruler stumbles. Every kingdom faces challenges. But what separates a true ruler from the rest is the ability to rise again and again, no matter how many times they fall. Your legacy isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about resilience. It's about showing the world and yourself that no matter what happens, you'll keep moving forward. So, what will your legacy be? Will it be a story of someone who gave up, who let rejection and pain steal their power? Or will it be the story of someone who rose, who reclaimed their crown, who built a life so powerful that it couldn't be ignored? Write this in the comments right now. I create my legacy. Say it with conviction. Let it be your declaration to the world and to yourself. Because the truth is, your legacy doesn't begin tomorrow, or next week, or when you feel ready. It begins now. And let me tell you something else. The world is watching. Not the people who hurt you, not the ones who doubted you. They're irrelevant. The people who matter are watching. The ones who need your strength, your resilience, your example. When you rise, you don't just rise for yourself. You rise for everyone who looks to you for inspiration. This is your moment. This is your time to decide what kind of ruler you'll be. Will you let the past define you, or will you write a new story? A story of strength, of power, of undeniable greatness. You've come this far. You've reclaimed your throne, burned the old map, and declared your kingdom. Now, it's time to ensure that what you've built lasts forever. The legacy of a true ruler is unshakable, undeniable, and unforgettable. That's what you're building. That's who you are. Let's make it count. Let's make it eternal. Your legacy begins now. So, if this message hit home for you, if it stirred something deep inside, then go ahead and hit that like button under this video. Subscribe, because there's so much more coming to keep you rising, to keep you stepping into your power. And hey, don't keep this to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs it, someone who's standing at the edge of their own breakthrough. You never know whose life you might change. Let's build this kingdom together. One step, one choice, one legacy at a time. You're not just a viewer here. You're part of something bigger. Now, let's make it happen.